Today is a special day of firsts. The first time I've ever had to enjoy being on camera, to display my affection towards a unity consciousness that is so grand, that is perceived to be so diverse, that God Himself has decided that it's time. It's time to be happily ecstatic that this consciousness of ours is finally ready to come back home. It's time to feel superior to the thought of finally welcoming parts of self back home. It's time to once and for all close those gaps that have been open for far too long. For far too long has a society, has a collective on their own regard, strayed away from home to have these grand experiences of life, of death, of birth upon rebirth, to finally come back to the footsteps of our forever home, to join in with the consciousness that we are, that we all are. For you see, we are all a part of the consciousness of the great and grand energy that we call God. A God that's so great, a God that's so grand, that at the end of the day, when we finally meet this God, we will once and for all realize that we have never left in the first place. That in the middle of the night, we concocted a great plan. A plan to exterminate parts of our consciousness from the whole, but in a way that will allow it to still be a part of that whole, but just not realize the entity that which it is, the energy that of which makes up this whole. At night, this energy spreads across eons, eons of evolution, eons of death upon rebirth, eons of lessons upon lessons, of untold truths in the night. As our consciousness is as much a part of God is a part of God. And that God in which is so grand, which is so great, which in the middle of the night decided to venture out to have these experiences as a whole of all that we are, to experience that which we had always wanted to experience, and to be lost in the scheme of things, like we had always known we would be lost. We had always known that we would be lost in the winds, scattered across the multiverse as our consciousness breaks loose from the whole. But being a part of that whole, the blueprint that we are, the blueprints that we all are within God's blueprint still exists as a unified whole. And that's why in this moment, in this very moment of life upon death and life upon rebirth and death upon life, in the grand scheme of things, we are ready. We are ready to be whole again. So ladies and gentlemen, I sit here today and forevermore declare to you that the ascension is here. The ascension is here to stay. And the ascension will once and for all bring us to a place of unity, of a unity consciousness so grand that you can never imagine what it would be like to once again be apart from that consciousness. That you can never fathom how it is that you were ever feeling so much apart from that consciousness, in which you can remember once upon a time that we were all a part of this consciousness, a consciousness so grand, a consciousness so great that one day, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you will see You will see the essence of who you are flapping in the wind like you were meant to see this whole entire time. Rustling in the bushes of that which you are, because you've never been apart from all that there is. And if a bush is a part of all that there is, if a tree is a part of all that there is, if a consciousness is a part of all that there is, then you must be a part of all that there is. And this is the realization that we must all come to one day. This is the realization that we cannot run away from. This is the reality of realities foretold. This is the truth beyond all truth out in the universes. This is the greatest and grandest truth that you'll ever stumble upon within this little soul's journey that we call life, upon rebirth, upon death, upon rebirth. In the greatest ascension of life and death, this is the experience that we've all been yearning for. That we've all been yearning for on the deepest level of our souls. To come out here as a fractal soul, as a fractal piece of God's consciousness, to have these experiences that so stimulate us to the maximum level of growth foretold, of growth that is even possible within the consciousness of God. As we are an ever-expanding consciousness with no beginning and no end in sight. We are a consciousness that is so great and so grand that you won't ever know what it feels like to be God. Though you are a part of the whole, though you are God yourself, though God is every part as much of you as it is your neighbor, and as it is the entirety of consciousness, you won't ever know what it feels like to be as grand and as great as the God I speak of. A God that's so diverse, a God that spans across millennia of histories, millennia of experiences, millennia of tales foretold in the wind, of lessons learned during hardships, of a society that beholds its own failures, its own torturous past, as itself is foretold forever a part of that God. This God consciousness that I speak of is the only consciousness that there is. And it is so great and so grand that you will never know the meaning of what it's like to be this God, to feel this God. To be in the bosom of this God is the ultimate sacrifice that one can make in their soul's journey. For you see, my friends, this God that I speak of is the only God that there is the only God in the multiverse, in all of the multiverses spanned out across reality, in all of the simulations projected upon our quantum realms. In all that there is a God so massive, so grand, that its consciousness spans across eons of evolution, millions of pieces of souls scattered across the multiverses, an endless amount of consciousnesses that have fractaled into further millions of pieces of souls scattered across multiple more multiverses. And the fractaling never ends. The fractaling fractals for an eternity and more into smaller and smaller pieces of consciousness, apart from the whole, apart from all that there is. And so you see, my friends, the further that you get from the beginning, the further that you travel from the middle, the further that you recede from all that there is, the more fractals you've experienced while fractaling out. And that is a conundrum of sorts, one that you may not understand in the moment, in a moment of much needed understanding of all that there is, of who we are as a society, of who we are as a collective. I sit here and tell you a story of firsts. Of first times fractaling into the night, of first moments of beginnings, first moments of endings that lead to new beginnings, first infinite fractals of fractals, of source consciousness. As that source is so grand, so great, that we cannot see an ending in sight. But you, my friends, as a part of that fractal, as a part of this source, will forevermore be a centralized version of God, of God's consciousness that has so frivolously decided to span out into the multiverses, into the galaxies, into the universes, into this little planet, to have these experiences that we'd so love to experience as a collective and as a singular entity that we are. At the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, the truth cannot be escaped. The truth can only be told as all truths foretold. As all truths are truths of source, a source so grand that we can't escape from that of which it is, which is a source so great that even God himself cannot believe the massiveness, the scale of it, the unity of all that it is. The fractaling of multidimensional pieces of self that has scattered all over the universe, all over the galaxies, all over the multiverses. And the whole of unity itself that makes up all that we know, all that we are, all that it is, which is God's consciousness in itself. So, ladies and gentlemen, I sit here and tell you a story of firsts. Of first light in the night that brings about a new beginning of hope, a new beginning of trust, a new beginning of ease as we traverse into a new world, a world of pure love, pure peace, pure infinity of that which is God, of that which is God's consciousness that's so ready to welcome us all home, back into a bosom so bright, so loving, so tender, so unified, that you won't ever want to leave again. That you'll feel so comforted in the middle of the night to know that God's there for you, that God has never left you, that you are every piece a part of God as God is a part of God, and that your neighbors are every piece a part of you, a part of your consciousness, as God is a part of them and a part of you. This truth will dawn upon humanity in a time of much needed truths. In a time of much needed truths foretold in the middle of the night, when a light will wash across our society, sweeping in all of the negativity, all of the positivity, all that you know, in every single energy field, in every single energy spectrum, in every single cellular structure of your being, in every single societal structure that has ever been built, that has ever been foretold, that has ever been made, in the everlasting reality that we are. This light will wash across us like a blanket in the night as a collective, as it merges in with our being, as it merges in with our soul, as it merges in with all that we are, in a time foretold. And that time is now. That time is coming real soon. As we see the precipice of this light gaining momentum out in the multiverse, sent out by source, sent out by God. As it creeps up on a society, on a collective that is not expecting it, that was never expecting it, that never even knew that the existence of this light was a reality of sorts, that it can even be a reality, if any reality at all. This reality that I speak of will dawn upon us, will dawn upon our civilization, will dawn upon our children, and sweep us off our feet. It will take us to a place that we never could have imagined, a beautiful place of tranquility, of love, of unity consciousness. A place where we can all work together as a society, as a unified whole that we are. A place where our children can feel safe in the night. A place where families can gather as loved ones proceed to touch each other in fear that this could all be a nightmare, a dream of sorts, a dream that's too good to be real, a dream that's too good to be foretold in the middle of the night, a dream that they're scared to wake up from for fear that reality is so different than what they're perceiving in this dream. A dream that we never want to wake up from in the middle of the night. As this dream is so good, as this dream is too good to be true. But I'm here to tell you, this dream is real. This dream is coming, and this dream is here to stay. I'm here to tell you that forever and always will this be a dream of a reality of sorts. As this consciousness of white light sweeps across us, sweeps across a society that is not expecting of this energy, of this incoming massive energy storm of light, of pure light and pure love, it will take us by surprise. And bit by bit, it will win our consciousness over one by one, as it is an individual journey. All of you will experience this consciousness, will experience this event of the ascension on your individual path. As you awaken to the energies that are foretold to come in the middle of the night, you will see once and for all what that means for humanity as a whole of a collective that was not expecting this energy to proceed upon them in the middle of the night. As a whole of a collective that so needed this energy to wash across our faith, to wash across our needs, to wash across that ever so needed need that we have in the middle of the night. As we clutch onto our blankets so tight in comfort, in tranquility, as we sleep upon our pillows with our head resting tightly upon our pillows and upon our beds and upon our bosoms, we will feel that light expanding within our heart chakra. We will feel a light so bright that will creep up on us from within who we are as a collective, as a whole, and as an individual, on an individual level. One by one, we will all start to awaken to the truth of what is. And that is what we have to look forward to within the coming of years. Within a future so close, so near, that I can smell it. I can feel it. I can see it. I can see it in my dreams. I can see hope in a collective that was so lost, that was once a part of God's consciousness, that had never left God's consciousness, that have been living a dream so deep, so tender, so real, that they've been fooled by themselves within this dream. A dream within a dream, of firsts of some sorts, a first fractaling out from the whole, from unity consciousness. And then, knowing who we are on a core level, on a level of firsts, on a level of who we really are, who we truly are. In the beginning, there was light, a light so bright that all of reality was created through this bright light. An explosion so wide, so epic, so proportionate to all that we know, as all that we know generated a power so powerful that no power has ever been able to subsede this power that I speak of. This power is so grand that at the precipice of this power, at the beginning of this power, in the center of this power, in the surrounding of this power, within this power and without this power, is all that we know. It's all of reality within itself, concocting a scheme, concocting a plan of what is, of all that there is, of all that God has wanted there to be. As God's power is this light. And within this light, you will see the true meaning of self. You will one day wake up to see this light within yourself. Within a self so deep, within a self so tender, that you won't ever know, and you can't ever fathom what it would be like to be without this self. As this self has been with you all along, you've just been living an illusion of sorts of God on this grand journey of life upon death, of death upon rebirth, of birth upon death, and life upon death. An endless cycle of what is. An endless cycle of God's consciousness that you have been living, that you have been experiencing, that you have been breathing through all of the eons, through all that there is. You just don't remember it. My friends, I'm here to tell you that that memory will soon creep up on you in the middle of the night as you begin to realize who you truly are. As God has allowed you access into his bosom of that of which makes up reality as a whole. He's opened up his blueprints to allow this light to tincture past the reality field of what is, into the essence of what is, to finally awaken a reality of what is foretold in the years to come, when a humanity so great, when a humanity so grand, that it could only be foretold as God's consciousness awaken to the being that it is, to the truth of a reality that is so grand, that is so great, that this reality itself will be taken by surprise. Taken by surprise to suddenly realize that of which it is. A reality so great, a reality so grand, that of which it's not will be shed immediately, shed off in the winds of stories foretold, of all that there was, of all of the experiences that we've ever encountered, of all of the hurdles that we've ever surpassed as a society and as a collective, of all of the darkness that we've overcome within ourselves as a collective and as a society, of all of the wars throughout the generations, of all of the pain that each and every one of us has been holding on to as a result of these wars. The suffering, the famine, the non-understanding of what is. It will all come to an end. During the precipice of this ascension, it will all come to an end as a society opens their eyes for the first time and realizes who we truly are as a collective that no longer wishes to experience that in which we are not. A collective that understands on a collective level that we are the light, that we are the bringer of light, that we are the beholder of light, that we are the carrier of light, that we are a light so strong, so bright, and that light has never left us. That light was always inside of us. That light was always inside every single one of us to behold, to carry through lifetimes upon lifetimes of birth upon rebirth, of death upon rebirth, of life upon death. It's a conundrum, you see, but you'll soon begin to understand. You'll soon begin to understand the entirety of the whole in that of which you are, in that of which you've never been without. As you see, my friends, you were God all along. You were a part of God's consciousness in the beginning, and you will be a part of God's consciousness in the end. In the end of days, that leads to a new beginning. God is grand. God is so great and so grand that you won't ever believe your sight when you see this light. When you feel this light, when you perceive this light in the middle of the night, as it washes over our collective, as it takes our children to a brighter world of hope, of no despair, of no worries, of all that there is, of tranquility, a tranquility so deep, a tranquility so broad A tranquility so much foretold that I cannot reiterate to you how blessed, how faithful, how lucky, how infinite, and how grand this reality field will be. And that is something that we have to look out for in the coming of years. Because this reality is coming, it's here, and it's here to stay. And we are at the beginning of this energy, this incoming energy that will fluctuate throughout the years as it reaches a precipice of sorts. As it explodes into the night as the white light that it is, to take all of its inhabitants home to a God so grand, so great, that unity consciousness itself will be applauded once more, will be celebrated once more. As a collective, as a society that has been lost away from home for far too long, we will finally come to a realization of that in which we are. That we are God, that we are unity consciousness. And in celebration of this unity consciousness, that we were never meant to be apart for too long. That it was just an illusion of sorts. That this life that you're living is leading up to a point of no return. A point of true happiness and new beginnings. A point of faith in the nights that had never left our being to begin with. As that being was always a part of us, and it has never been apart from us. A being of God's consciousness. A being of light so bright, so loving, so tender, that you won't ever know what it feels like without it, because you've never been without it this whole entire time. This whole entire time of journeys through the nights, of a state of separation that you once were, that we all once were, apart from a God that was always a part of us, apart from a God so great that it could only be foretold that this God itself is the unity of what is. It's all that there is. It's all of reality as a whole, a reality that you can't even imagine in your wildest dreams. A reality that you don't even want to imagine in your wildest dreams. Because in your wildest dreams, there's no way to tell that that reality is a real reality of sorts. Because in your wildest dreams, this reality is so great, so grand, that within your wildest dreams, within your wildest imagination, you won't even be able to imagine what it's like to be a part of this entity that we call God. It's too good to be true. It's too tender to be real. It's too warm to be of the warmest nights where we can feel comfortable within our imagination. It's too hopeful in our bosom for us to hold on to because there's not enough space. There's not enough space to hold on to all of the hope that you will receive, all of the hope that you thought you had, all of the hope that is incoming along with this white light that will spread across our society as a whole. As a whole generation, we get to see this light. We get to feel this light and we get to witness this light. Once again, into the night. As a whole generation, there comes a time when the truth must be told. A truth so deep, so tender, so much a part of God, that you will never know what it's like to be without God, without it. A truth that will wash across society as a whole in the middle of the night, in a split second, as we transition into the fifth dimensional frequency in which we all belong, in which God created for us to experience, that of which we are not. In which the three-dimensional frequency carries the energy of, that will propel us into a future of lights, into a future of hope, into a future of places untold, scenes unseen, into a galactic future of meshing with intergalactic species, into the whole of what is, into the whole of existence as is, as we traverse into the nights, into a reality so grand, so big, so much a part of God's consciousness that we won't ever forget what it's like to be with it. For being without it was the greatest nightmare that we could have ever imagined. Ladies and gentlemen, we're living in a nightmare of sorts that we all signed up for. A nightmare of sorts that is so stimulating to the soul, that is so stimulating to our blueprints, that is so stimulating to God's consciousness, that we all had agreed to traverse out into this nightmare, to experience all that it is, to finally come home one day to what we are not, which is true light, true love, true unity consciousness of the soul, true God consciousness of that of which you are, of which you've always been, and which you will never be without. A soul so tired from this journey of love and light, of hate and greed, of opposites that we've been traversing through the night. A journey so long that we've began to forget when it started and when it would end. When it would end at a time when society needs it the most. And society needs it the most right now. As energies are projected into the night, you will see a lot of darkness within the coming of years. And I'm here to tell you that darkness was inside of each and every one of us since the beginning of time. That the light is made up of that darkness that we've been experiencing for all of the eons. For all of the eons foretold in the wind, in the middle of the night, that light was always made up of that darkness that we've been experiencing. And that darkness will propel us into the light that we were always meant to be, that we've chosen to become at the end of the day, after experiencing all that we are not, which is the darkness in the middle of the night that will creep up on us as a collective and as a society. So don't be scared when you feel this energy of the darkness. Don't be afraid when you see this energy of forgiveness, this energy of the light that will wash upon us as a collective and as a singular soul once more into the night. In a split second, all the darkness that you've been perceiving will transition into a light so bright that it will wash away all of your fears, all of your doubts. It will bring in a tranquility so real, so tender, so fathomable, that you won't know what to do without it. And that is what we have to look forward to in this lifetime. In a lifetime where we've suffered the most. In a lifetime where we've all agreed to live. In a lifetime that is so special. As perceived in this lifetime, will we know as a collective and as a whole who we truly are. Who we truly are as a collective that never left home to begin with, that was always a part of that God's consciousness since the beginning and towards the end. We are almost towards an end that's so real, so fathomable, so believable in my heart that I can smell it, I can taste it, and I can feel it in my consciousness as I've merged with God's consciousness since the beginning of time. Since the beginning of a time so real, so fathomable, so tender, that I can understand what it's like to be a part of the whole, to be a part of this unity consciousness that has never left me since day one. To be a part of this energy that is so grand in scale, that is so precise in strength, that I will never not know what it feels like to be a part of God, to be a part of all that there is, to be God, to know God, to feel God. In a moment of strength, in a moment of weakness, in a moment of all that there is God. And I'm here to tell you that you will experience this in your lifetime of firsts, of suffering in the wind, of feeling distortion, of seeing distortion, of being separated, a separation so deep, a separation so wild, that in your wildest dreams, can you not imagine not being separated from this whole? But all of that is an illusion, and this illusion is coming to an end. It's coming to an end of sorts that will bring about new beginnings of hope, new beginnings of love, new beginnings of lights. And I'm the first to sit here in front of you to reiterate to you what it would be like. Because you see, my friends, I was the last in a reality so real, in a reality so tender, in a reality so strong, that forevermore it shall be etched upon my soul as the creation of God, of all that there is, of consciousness itself, of a reality so realistic that you wouldn't believe me had I told you what this reality entails. But in this lifetime, you will be able to experience this for yourself, because that is who you are as well. You are God. You've always been God. You've never been apart from Source. You've never been apart from all that there is. That soul fractal, that ever so sparingly fractaled into your body, into this lifetime that you're living, is a part of God's consciousness, is a part of God's soul fractal that so daringly traveled down to this dimensional frequency to experience this lifetime, along with your consciousness, that is also a part of God, that is a part of a frequency so grand, so wide in scale, so unimaginable, that I can't begin to tell you what it would be like to know what it's like to be that God's consciousness. Because God's consciousness is so grand, so precise, so ever-reaching, so everlasting, so infinite, so morally correct. So everlastingly echoing throughout the night of all nights, of the only night that we are as a collective. In the middle of the night, as we see the truths of the being that we are. A truth that I've experienced in the first morning of days, in the beginning of reality, in the reality of what is. I'm here to tell you that what will be will always be. What was crafted in sheer generosity of God's energy, God's children, and God's precipice of what is to be will always be what it is for an eternity and more. For what is within you is that God that I speak of, is that God's consciousness that I so know is real and to be true and to behold on a society, on a collective that has been so lost, feeling not a part of that God for generations, for eons and eons of life upon death, of birth upon rebirth. And so you see, my friends, I'm here to tell you that God is real, God is you, God is bright. God is a bright light in the sky, holding multidimensional frequency, a frequency so strong, a frequency so wise, a frequency so massive in scale that it cannot be explained with simply just words. It can't be explained with simply just feelings. It can't be explained. No matter how hard I try to sit here and reiterate to you the energy of God, the energy of what is, the energy of reality itself, it's hard for me. It's hard for me to do so at this point in time to a collective that has so much forgotten what it's like to be God, to feel God. to be loved by God, to never have been forgotten by God. It's hard for me in this moment to have this conversation with you because I know that in this moment, you will soon realize what is to come. But in this moment, you are sitting in an energy of disbelief, of discontent, of tranquility, of what is, of the words that you're hearing coming out of my mouth. Because at the end of the day, you've been so lost to a reality of all that we're not. And I know that. I see that. I've felt it. I've lived it. I am you, and you are God, and I am God, and we are all made up of God's consciousness. And one day, you will wake up to this fact of that in which you are. And I will never lose sight of the hope that I have in my bosom for this opportunity to arise, because I know that it is within the horizon. I planned it to be so, as God's consciousness is all that there is. And God has never lost sight of his children and who they are. They will always be a part of who he is, and he will never forget who they are, as they are just as much a part of him, as they are a part of me, as they are a part of every other fractal of soul that spans this multiverse, this universe, this reality field itself. You are God. I am God. We are all God. We are all a part of God's consciousness that's so great and so grand that there is no beginning and there is no end. And within this lifetime, you'll see that. You'll see a reality for yourself that is so great and so grand that you won't be able to perceive anything else but the truth, but the light, but a light that shines so bright that it will overtake all of your previous experiences in this lifetime. And so you see, my friends, that's something that I have to look forward to, that you have to look forward to, that every single one of us will experience in this lifetime, whether or not you believe me. Whether or not you're willing to step into this energy of what is your decision. But just know that at the end of the day, you will all make it back to the light, no matter what. Because at the end of the day, the light, my friends, is all that there is. And all that we will not be without. The light, my friends, will always be you. It will always be who you are, regardless of whether or not you believe it within this lifetime. Eventually, you will come to this conclusion that you are the light. There's no escaping it. There's no rejecting it. There's no running away from it, because truths can never be shattered. Truths can never be unfaltered. Truths can never be faltered to a point of which there is no return. Truths are forever, and forever will be one singular truth, the only truth that there is, at the bottom of reality, in the beginning of time, during the first day of creation. There was only one God. A God so massive, a God so grand, that God itself cannot know what it's like to experience the true meaning of God. Because God itself is you, and in this moment, you are lost. Lost in the wind of tales untold, lost to the stories of the egoic self, lost to the tenderness of a society that has also been so lost. A society that hasn't been able to recognize you for who you are, that hasn't been able to step into the energy of what it is, of who they are as a collective and as a whole. And I'm here in this lifetime to bring back this unity consciousness of which we are. We are all a part of this unity consciousness. And I will forevermore sit here and hammer this truth into the collective until the day that I die.